Lynn Scerbak. I use any pronouns. I graduated from USC's IMGD program, got my degree in interactive entertainment, and I graduated in 2018. Lishan is an amazing designer. She always asks really great questions that just always lead people to like think about the project and the design process itself in a kind of different way. She's really cool. So it was really fun to work on. For that project specifically, I think my main contribution was to certain types of like puzzle design and then different like aesthetic components. So lots of, actually that was part of, that tied into my typography. Wow, full circle, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so one of the things that I really enjoyed researching for that project was different typefaces that were used during the early 1900s and late 1800s. And like balancing using historically accurate type with adjusting it to people's perceptions of what historically accurate type would be, because some of the types looked really modern, even though they were from the late 1800s, and others were just like a complete affront to modern design sensibilities. It's like, why would you use 5 different types of like really loud font in the same article? But that's what they did. People just had fun with the typefaces. So I think that was one of my favorite parts of working on that project. But it was just, it was a cool project because it showed how so many different disciplines, when you're doing historical research, can be adapted into a playful format that led to an experience. So that was really cool. I was mostly concerned with like, and I think Lishan too, mostly concerned with like the educational process or like the educational impact of the game. So showing it in a festival setting was cool. It was definitely fun for a lot of people, but we had to definitely adjust certain elements of the experience to be more festival friendly, because if you're presenting it as part of a classroom experience, which again is what it was designed for. So we didn't design it with like, oh, this is how we'll show it in a classroom and this is how it'll be shown to like a raving audience or something. So I don't think either of us necessarily anticipated that. But yeah, so it's like, it was designed specifically to be in a classroom context with a traditional like educational lead-in to the project, more so like, hey, this is happening in the context of either Black History Month or like a broader history class. And so students have context for approaching it. They don't just like stumble into school and then find an old chest and then have to like learn who Ida B. Wells is and then figure it out from there. So I would say no, I at least didn't anticipate it, because that's really not what we were designing for at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the game be implemented in a classroom setting?
Oh yeah, I got to help out with some of the classroom tests for the game, and that was really cool. Kids got really kids. I don't know, are teenagers kids? I think they're kids.
Yeah.
I felt like a kid until I was like 22, so they're kids.
Yeah.
They got really excited when they like got the right combination to a lock or something, and so it was cool to see history taught in a playful and meaningful and interactive way, where students were actively engaging in discussion about like where to place the pieces of the first puzzle, which I don't know if you want me to go into explaining kind of like what.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
So that first puzzle, you were presented with a series of newspaper headlines and excerpts that you had to figure out the chronology of, but you also had to figure out which angle was being taken by the presses that were publishing the headlines. So there were two different presses, Ida B. Wells Press, and then I think the Memphis Scimitar was the white-owned press that was running parallel to Ida's. So which newspaper outlet was publishing what headlines and then what order the headlines went in. So yeah, so that is something that you can do alone, but it also, since they're physical pieces and you're not like sharing a keyboard and a mouse or anything like that, everybody can pick up a piece and like read a headline out and move things around physically in front of each other. To see kids like really invested in the experience, like people weren't hanging back too much, not really engaged. They were trying to like insert themselves. It was really cool. I was convinced that I was going to be an author until I was 16, and then I got to study animation as a part of California State Summer School for the Arts. Met a few people that I actually ended up going to USC with through that experience.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't known otherwise. That was really cool. But then I was like, I'm definitely going to be an animator. And then I applied on a whim to USC's game design program because I really liked AP computer programming. And I figured like, meh, it's a safe backup or something. So I didn't expect to get into the program because the only game that I had completed by the time that I was accepted was a Game Boy Advance game called Kim Possible 3, I think, Draken's Demise, which I put over 300 hours in as a child.
Wow, that is commitment.
That was it. That and Webkins was like it. I had no context. Like that was the summer, or like that was the school year after like the summer of Gamergate. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, why are people mad at each other? I know nothing about games, but here I am. Yeah. So long answer to say no. I did not anticipate being a game designer. I was actually approached by Digital Fish because they were expanding their tech art thing, which jobs are open right now for Digital Fish. So hey, we're looking for more tech artists. But yeah, after I graduated college, I took a year to just like work at a nonprofit locally, and then started applying to just a wide array of tech industry jobs all over the place. And yeah, Digital Fish, it was really lucky that they reached out to me because I don't know if I would have found them otherwise. And get to work on kind of like augmented reality and emerging technologies at my new job. So that's really fun for me. I really enjoy that. I mostly work in Facebook's Spark program, Spark AR. It's their augmented reality software that is like constantly being developed and expanded. I like, I'm not gonna complain, but like every week or so I get like, hey, do you want to update to the latest version? I'm like, oh my God, no, which features do I need to learn now? Like it's constantly being updated and developed. So it's cool, but it's also a lot to learn. But yeah, so that's what a lot of people use to create Instagram effects. So there are a lot of different angles that you can approach. So some people try to push the software in terms of how you can make games and interactive experiences using a pretty simple like skeleton that Spark provides. And people have been able to do some really cool, really amazing stuff just by using like head gestures in order to control entire interactive experiences. So it's a little bit different. It's a different philosophy of like game design or playful design and what I learned in school, because it uses your body a lot, and that's really cool. sure. I think that the thing that I appreciate most from USC, especially now that like I'm a few years away from it, is the like variety of really cool classes, really like, I don't know about life-changing, but perspective altering, I guess, classes. The ones that stand out to me are definitely typography classes, because those were mentioned. The dance classes, I had a dance minor, and that informed my game design practice 110%. It's like USC went hard when they invested in the dance school. So that was really cool. And then obviously my both peers and educators in the games program. So probably like kind of nerdy, but the classes I was taking were probably my best memories from USC. A lot of silk. I've dyed a bunch of like, oh, no, it's too far away. I've dyed a bunch of just like silk scarves using like natural dyes and indigo extracts and things like that. So that's a fun little like chemistry experiment combo with creating pretty colors. So that's something I've been into lately. In terms of grand projects in tech, I've been thinking about a detective thriller about my grandpa, who was a homicide detective with the NYPD for a while. He was a Black detective with the NYPD, and he's not alive anymore. But when he was, he like worked on the Kennedy assassination and was he had a lot of really interesting experiences. So I think that creating a detective thriller that looks at both policing and Blackness set back in like I don't know, the 70s would be an interesting project where you could be both critical of the police while having someone who has an inside perspective as both a Black man and someone who's like has tensions both with other police officers due to his race and like when he's out of uniform still has tensions with police officers out of his race. I think that would be an interesting thing to explore, but that's also like pie in the sky, big idea that would require me to do a lot of research.